Whew, all right. What's up, guys? As you can see, this isn't our normal environment where I take videos, and that's honestly, it's not. I'm at home, and because I'm so excited to actually talk about this book, I couldn't wait any longer. And a big reason is actually this book is coming out on June 9th, or you can pre-order it on June 9th, and that's soon. And so, knowing by our usual schedule, it would take another 4 months for this to come out, so I really had to just record it here and edit it and put it out there. So let's talk about it. I'm excited to actually talk about this book. It's called The Harbinger of Justice. It's by Andrew Watson. He self-published this book. He also has a YouTube channel, and his content's amazing on there. I highly recommend watching his videos, and I highly recommend reading this book when it comes out. It's the first book in a trilogy called the Shadowbinders trilogy. First off, before anything else, huge props to Andrew for actually writing a book. It's tough. It's tough to write a book. I mean, we all struggled writing 5 pages in high school and in college. And so now imagine writing 300 to 400 pages. It's not easy. We both know that our attention would not last that long. And so the fact that he finished it, huge props. And the fact that I enjoyed it, even more props. So kudos to you, Andrew. So why don't we just dive into this? All right, so The Harbinger of Justice. Why should you read it? First off, actually, before we go more into the world and the characters, I actually wanted to start off with my favorite quote, because I think this theme that this quote brings out is, anyways, it goes like this. Once in days past, Rai would whisper a prayer for those he killed. That was a time when he thought the gods were watching over him. Now, he knew better. First off, shame on you, Rai, for not praying anymore, but if you dove a little bit deeper into this quote, actually in the whole section of what's going on in the story at the time, is him actually taking responsibility. He's right now slaughtering a bunch of people, as you do, and he is basically no longer just doing it because someone told him to do it, whether it was God or his leaders or the authority that he was working for. But now it's actually him taking responsibility, him realizing, all right, this is my choice. I've decided to walk down this path. I've decided to kill these people. This is now my burden to bury, or my burden to carry, right? And so this taking responsibility is a theme that actually goes throughout this entire story, and Andrew really weaves it in beautifully. Not only with Rai and this character of his feeling of guilt of his past and wanting to take on responsibility of this newfound power that he has, and realizing how much damage it could do to this world if it was to be unleashed and someone in the wrong hands would get it. But also actually in the other character, Nya, where she takes responsibility of something that she's really, or this pivotal moment in the book where she does something pretty terrible, and she then takes responsibility for it in her own way. And I think this theme really is well done, of people really owning up to their actions and understanding, and how can I deal with this? How do I own up to it? What is the actions that I can do because of this responsibility that I have decided to take? And I think it's really well done, and Andrew does a beautiful job really explaining this and showing how important it is in our lives to understand the responsibility that we have and the choices we do based on this responsibility. So I just really wanted to start off that beautiful theme that relates a lot to our own personal life, and I highly recommend reading it just for that life lesson that Andrew goes a little bit deeper into. And so yeah, just that quote really stuck out to me, but let's just dive into the world right now. For the world, I give an 8 out of 10. I thought the world would be, completely honest, terrible. I thought it was going to be so boring because it's a desert world, or it's a desert nation, this nation of Terrace, which is a desert kingdom that the main characters live in, and it's the only place that you visit inside the book, basically. And I was like, oh boy, another desert planet. It's been there. We've all seen it. Dune has done it. Star Wars has done it. What more can you add, Andrew? And boy, could he add a lot more. Not only did he have a little twist to it with the addition of at night, basically it freezes over or just becomes regular Earth, and becomes a hard surface rather than sand, which was cool. So if you're not paying attention, it gets a little dark, all of a sudden you're stuck in the ground, which I thought was an interesting twist. But also he delves deeper into the wildlife and in the fauna, or this, the nature of this world. And I thought it was really interesting as you're learning about this culture of the world, but also just the environment of the world and how it has survived, and how this desert planet or this desert kingdom creates the people that it does, creates the culture that it did, but also how these animals survived. And anyways, really fascinating, really well done, and I thought it brought a new level to this typical trope of a desert area, desert region. So yeah, not only that, but I also have to say this desert idea of, all right, yeah, you've got the hot, you've got the sand, But then there's this world behind the rift that you travel to. In like maybe the first third of the book, you go and you visit it. And this is actually the place where the powers come from, or the real fantasy element comes from, where you have these beings called shades, these sentient beings that basically attach themselves to humans and then live inside of their shadow, being able to do terrible things, but also be like a physical element, superpowery element to then the human that they've attached themselves to. But they are completely they have their own mind, they have their own thought, and they are able to talk to people and their host, or whatever you call it, right? So you have this realm that they come from, and this gloomy, dark, shadowy place compared to the bright, sandy, hot place of the external world that they live in, I thought was really well done. It creates an interesting atmosphere. It helps bring up the other atmosphere, right? You have the really bright one, you have the really dark one, and it helps compare the two. And I think Andrew does a really good job comparing these and bringing out each other's elements, making each place feel like you're there inside of it. So then the characters. Speaking of the culture of the world, one interesting side culture that I thought was pretty unique and I've never read or seen before is inside of their social class system. The higher you are, the more letters you have in your name. And so the main characters that you follow are Rai, Nya, and Kit. And so as you can imagine, they only got 3 letters in their name. That means they're peasants. Low class, baby. And you follow these characters, and I have to say, we'll start with the main one, Nya. Well done. Well done writing her, Andrew. Really beautifully written character. Just her upbringing and the way that she then deals with the situations that she's faced, or the situations that she is facing, and the different issues and problems and the choices that she makes throughout the book. You understand why, and you feel for her, right? She does some things that you're just like, dang, that messed up. But then you're like, this poor girl, like, she was raised terribly, and no wonder her value system is so skewed because of this, right? She's grown up, and basically she's taking care of her mom, who's dying or is extremely sick, and her mom basically blames her on their terrible life that she has, right? So there's no gratitude from the mom that she's being taken care of by her daughter, but just blames her for everything. And of course Nya takes it, oh yeah, this is my fault, this is my responsibility, I gotta take care of my mom because I have messed everything up just because I exist, right? And that's gonna screw with a kid, right? That's gonna screw with her quite a bit. And so really well in just explaining that, or understanding that as the reader, and then feeling for her, and then as she goes throughout the story, making her different choices and why she goes in this direction and that direction, you understand why, right? It's difficult to be in their situation and believe, oh yeah, I probably, if I grew up like that, also make a decision like that. So I would say Nya's character growth and character development, beautifully written. Then you have Rai, who is like this mercenary that you first meet. He's taking care of these merchants, he's bringing them inland to sell their goods. And Rai is all right. So both Nya and Rai are people that have this superpower, or this shade that's attached themselves with them. And Nya gets it new. She's terrible at it, which is great. Thank God that this kid, right, useless, it gets beaten up, gets a superpower, doesn't become overpowered with it, right? Doesn't automatically destroy nations through it, right? There's a growth, and she's like still here, pretty useless still. Then you have Rai, who's had this power for quite some time and destroys, right? It is epic to read, like great fight scenes. He's just absolutely tearing through stuff, like absolutely demolishes. Anyways, cool character. I would have to say really well written. He's got this aura, he's mysterious, you know, you feel like he's a badass. However, when it comes to the reason why he's doing what he's doing, maybe it isn't the cleanest. You don't really understand why he feels responsible for this power that he now has, right? Why he feels responsible to make sure that this power doesn't completely control or get out of control, and maybe someone gets a shade that isn't supposed to have it and does something terrible with it. Why does he feel responsible for this, right? There's no real connection. You learn a little bit about his past, but you feel, maybe there's something more there, and you don't quite get that yet. So then the third character that you follow the perspective of is Kit, and Kit is probably the weakest character out of the 3. I don't really understand why he's there, why he's so attached to Nya. I mean, they have a life and death situation that bonds them, and I sort of understand, but still, just because of his upbringing, right? He's also, or he and now are people that lived on the street or live on the street, and so it's like you don't know why all of a sudden he's so loyal to her. And yeah, you could maybe say, all right, there's some romance or there's some love in that, and he's just completely fallen in love with this girl, which then I guess kind of makes sense, you know, because guys can do something stupid if they're in love, but it isn't well explained, and you don't really understand why he goes to such lengths as he does. And I feel like for him, there's definitely more room to really grow and understand more of, and maybe in the future books you will learn more about him, but as in this book, weakest character. So overall, I give the character 7.5 out of 10. There's definitely some solid points. You feel for them, all right? Without a doubt, there are some gut-wrenching moments, and you're like, I feel for her, I feel for him, and it's beautiful. But then there's some things that could be fleshed out a little bit more, if we're going to be completely honest, all right? And now for the lower point of the book, I would have to say the plot is a 6.5 out of 10. And it's not that the plot is bad. The first 2/3, phenomenal, right? You're taking some time, you're learning about the characters, you're learning about the world, right? You're going to big cities, you're going to small villages, you're slowly understanding why you're learning about the characters, where they're doing, what's up with their lives, and it's all cool. It's good, it's exciting, it brings you into the world. Then you have the last third of the book, and oftentimes when books have a bad ending, it is tough for me to feel excited to continue with the story. However, it's not to say the ending is bad. I think the ending is still extremely exciting. There's a lot that is going on, and I think that's the problem, is that there is so much happening. It goes so quickly in the last 50 pages, where I felt if he took another 100 pages and explained it more thoroughly, it would have felt a lot cleaner and a lot better. But because he really took only, I guess, 50 pages to explain this end, there is so much that happens, and you get taken on as the reader, and you're just trying to get through it, and it's exciting, there's a lot that's going on, and you just feel a little bit overwhelmed, or at least that's how I felt in the end. A little bit overwhelmed, where you didn't feel like you grasped entirely the situation of what happened, right? If you just took a step back, and I don't want to give any spoilers, because it is an exciting end, and there's a lot that is going on, a lot of questions that come up from it, and I don't want to ruin that surprise for anyone, but it's just like they jump from one place to another. They're here, they're there, they're there, they're here, they're facing this. And I think the biggest thing is that when you have the antagonist, he's hell-bent with what he wants to do, right? His purpose, he's clear, he cannot be swayed. Then he is able to accomplish what he set out to do, and immediately when he accomplishes it, he realizes it's a mistake, and that's fine. However, that realization isn't as clean as it could have been. And of course you understand, and it can make sense. I just felt it wasn't explained, and it wasn't prepared. The foundation wasn't laid for that decision to be made, where that quickly switch was to be made. If I would have to relate it to maybe like Game of Thrones, season 8. Yeah, with Daenerys. I don't know if you've watched Game of Thrones, not the books, the movie or the series, but it felt like that season. But even with that end, I have to give it an 8 out of 10 in enjoyment. Oh, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, the ending was rushed, but overall, the story, the richness, the beauty of this culture, the beauty of the elements that Andrew has maybe taken from other books, inspirations from other books, and then the unique twist that he puts on it, amazingly done. Amazing job, Andrew, and I can't wait to know more about the story. I can't wait to read the second and third book. This book's not even out, and I'm excited for the rest of the trilogy. I highly recommend that you get it. It comes out on June 9th. And yeah, check out Andrew and his YouTube channel and his videos. I think he's a great content creator, and he's a great author, and I'm excited to read more of his books whenever they come out. And honestly, once again, Andrew, thank you so much for sending me this copy or sending me this book. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. And honestly, now I'm just a huge fan. So yeah, that's it for me for now. Hopefully you'll have an amazing day, and I'll see you all later. Peace.